So we are now on our on our sheets. We are now Roman numeral two, letter A, up till number four, Oneg Shabbat. Okay, so we mentioned. Okay, we're talking about the positive mitzvah of Shabbat, mitzvah of Kiddush, at the beginning of Shabbat, and before our Shabbat meals, we talked about Havdalah, which is sort of like the bookend, the Kiddush at the end of Shabbat, as it were. Kavod Shabbat is the mitzvah to prepare for Shabbat, clean house, clean body, clean clothes. Um, and Oneg Shabbat is that Shabbat itself should be pleasant, okay, enjoyable. So good food and just should be comfortable, and we should have light in our homes. Right. We talked about this candle lighting. We mentioned.
You
Yeah.
quite literally said good food, good light.
Oh, okay. Great. All right. Very good.
And then we went off on the tangent.
Okay. So we light Shabbat candles so that our home should be lit on Shabbat. And this is understood to be actually by the sages in the Talmud to be a way of promoting peace. That this is actually an expression of the Maimonides writes, sort of echoing the Talmud that whenever you'll only have money to buy wine for Kiddush, or you have or money to buy, light for your candles. Usually candles prioritize it. You prioritize candles because it's, he says, Gedolah Shalom. It's, peace. The whole Torah was written to make peace in the world, and the Shabbos candles promote peace. How do the Shabbos candles promote peace? Promote peace. Uh, I think like at least three explanations I haven't, that I've encountered that have been said over the, you know, generations. One, if you have light in your home, you won't trip and hurt yourself, okay, in the dark. They're very, very basic. Two, husband and wife are sitting at a table and looking at each other and hopefully liking what they see, and that encourages marital peace and peace in the family. And the other explanation is that if since over time lighting candles became associated as a woman's mitzvah, if there was a conflict over priorities and her mitzvah got deprioritized, that would lead to arguments. Okay, so that's another way it promotes peace. And in fact, lighting candles is a mitzvah that is not necessarily a woman's mitzvah. It has to happen. And a man who lives alone should light candles. A man whose wife can't light should light for himself, and should have candles lit in your home. If you're not going to be home because you're coming, both of you are, everyone in the house is coming to shul before Shabbat starts. No one's going to be left home. Doesn't seem safe to leave burning fire. So if no one's going to be home, you can light candles in the sink. Put them inside like tea lights inside your sink. That seems pretty safe, unless you have a very frisky cat. You could put your tea lights in your sink. That's probably safe. Or you can light at shul, is what we often do in those situations. If we're going out for dinner, we'll light at shul, as long as you have some enjoyment of the lights on Shabbat. So we leave shul, we bask in the glow of the lights right outside the chapel before we go off to dinner. And also, as we light, we have in mind, also, I did actually like the significant lighting in terms of all the purposes I mentioned is we have the light on in the bathroom, we have the light on the hallway, like we're going to have light on the porch, like we're not going to trip and hurt ourselves. We're going to be able to, sit in the living room and have a conversation on Friday night. And so all of those, the electric lights that we have in our home are actually fulfilling the real purpose of these Shabbos candles. So we have those in mind as well when we light Shabbos candles. Yeah, Jonathan.
What's the origin of the two candles and also the origin of the Havdalah?
As like a multiple, yeah. Why two candles on Friday night? I think the symbolism is Shamor and Zachor, is my understanding. Shamor, like Zachor Yom HaShabbat, remember the Sabbath day from Exodus. Shamor Yom HaShabbat, preserve the Sabbath day from Deuteronomy. As these two positive, negative, like or maybe it's the double portion of manna that fell in the desert on Friday. So there's all sorts of two symbolisms regarding Shabbat. That's probably where it comes from. I think. Oh, a second. Oh, look at that. Somebody else is looking for a passcode. Uh, that's okay. Just like you said. All right. See, very, you're right. Let me also, if not, let me see. Hold on. It's so interesting. Why? I don't know why. For all of a sudden, it's here or.
If I just go on a website calendar, that's
I know. I'm
how.
telling you. I know. Yeah. Yeah. I'm sending it to him. All right. Let's see. Yeah. Okay. All right. Um. Oh, you also looking over. All right.
But David, but at
Yes.
school, we also light two candles. So to save them, we only lit one, or we still lit two.
Yeah, I think if there's enough, you light two, and there should be at shul, there should be enough to light two. If there's not, you do one. I think that's okay. And many of the customs do more. Um, many of the custom to add a candle every time, every time a child joins the family. So you have three kids, you do two plus three, five candles as so families where that's a common custom. Not universal, but a common custom.
Thank you.
Please, yeah.
Well, you didn't answer that, Phil.
Thank you. Oh, good, good.
Well, let's say you come to shul for a couple of Shabbat.
Yeah.
Can you go home and still light the candles even though it's Shabbat?
No.
You can't, right?
Yeah.
You have to do it here? Okay.
Exactly. Yeah. Once you've accepted Shabbat, you can't light candles.
Because technically you accept it when you do Dodi, right?
A little after the Chadodi. After the Chadodi, Mizmar Shir Yom Shabbat, that's the moment we accept Shabbat. So even if it's still not yet sunset, you accept Shabbat at that, whatever, Psalm 92, whatever it is, that when we say that.
Because that's like a obligation for a man. That's where Shabbat starts for a man, correct?
It's if a man lights Shabbat candles, it probably starts with him then too. In other words, if but so here's the thing: if you're at home, if you're gonna light at home and then go to shul, you would
Fire.
let's take a light. The only issue is like you should probably daven mincha before you light Shabbos candles,
Uh,
because once you light Shabbos candles, you're accepting Shabbat. Maybe it's too late to daven mincha. So you can daven mincha first, then light Shabbos candles. That you can do that, and then come to shul. You could, if you're lighting candles here, you could sneak out after mincha as long as we start on time. But like sometimes we cut it close. So if we're waiting around, that's not a smart idea. You could also light Shabbat candles and have in mind, I'm not accepting Shabbat yet. You have anti-kavan. I'm not accepting Shabbat, and then you accept Shabbat at a regular time. Is Shabbat. This is helpful if you're lighting Shabbos candles and then getting into the car to drive to shul, which some people do. So you have in mind, I'm lighting candles, but it's not Shabbos for me yet. I'm gonna accept Shabbat when I get to shul. Yeah. Okay.
and Havdalah question.
Havdalah. Why is Havdalah a multi-wick candle? I think it's supposed to be I think we talked about it. It's supposed to be like do you have notes? Did I say something like that?
Yeah, we did.
Yeah.
I don't remember.
Havdalah candle is supposed to be we're lighting the fire after Shabbat is over because we can't manipulate fire or light fire on Shabbat, and so we're sort of celebrating Borei Me'orei Ha'esh, blessed is God who creates this illuminating power of fire, and so it's not just a little light; we want like a torch. So a torch is at least two wicks. So Havdalah candle is multiple wicks braided together. You could also take two candles and put them together if you don't have a special Havdalah candle, just as long as at least two wicks that are so it's like so the flame is extra large. All right. Good questions today. All right. Anyone else? Anything else?
Sometimes I notice that like women close like their
Yes. Oh, good. Very good. Excellent. Many women or men cover their eyes. This is great. Okay. So when we say a blessing, for a mitzvah. There are three types of blessings that we have in our liturgy. There's it's called Birchat Nehanin, a benefit blessing. You say a blessing before you derive benefit from something in the world, before you eat something, before you smell something. Okay, that's called Birchat Nehanin, a bracha for benefit bracha. There's a Birchat Shevach, a blessing of praise. Like if you see a beautiful tree or a beautiful person, or all right, that's a Birchat Shevach, praise blessing. The third kind of bracha, third type of blessing is a mitzvah bracha, a bracha for doing a mitzvah. And this was added by the sages as a way to help us do mitzvot with a sense of like awareness of the religious orientation of why we're doing the mitzvah. Okay, that we're not doing it by rote, we're not doing it unthinkingly, we're not just, automatons. We're like, I'm going to take a moment, I'm going to say a blessing that God commanded me to do this mitzvah, and then I'm going to go do the mitzvah. So those mitzvah blessings all have the format of Asher Kidshana b'mitzvotav. Blessed is God, sovereign of the universe. Asher Kidshana b'mitzvotav, who sanctified us, who made us holy b'mitzvotav with God's commandments, vitziva, and commanded us to do whatever the mitzvah is, and then you do the mitzvah. And for mitzvah blessings, I don't know if you've hopefully this formula is familiar to you. Some okay, you've like encountered this before, okay, in the wild. This mitzvah bracha formula is supposed to be done over lasiatan, which I would say is proximate to actually doing the mitzvah. So you say the bracha, and then right away you do the mitzvah afterwards. Now there are a couple of instances of maybe I think of three examples where we can't do the bracha over l'siyatan, immediately before we do the mitzvah. And one of them is lighting Shabbat candles. Because you say the bracha, and then at Shabbos, then you can't light the candles anymore. So instead, you light the candles, you cover your eyes and say the bracha, and then you uncover your eyes and you can benefit from the light.
Understood. No,
Okay?
this is helpful. Yes, but
Okay?
when you do something with their
Well,
hands.
there are customs you waive, but okay, fine. I don't know. I don't know. I'm telling you what I know.
No, this is helpful because I was confused. Like when I saw it, shul, I was like, I
Yeah,
know
yeah.
what I need to say, but I was confused. Like this hand.
Yeah. There are many other customs. Okay, but John is thinking, what are the other two exceptions of where it's hard to do say the bracha of verilus yatan immediately prior? Anything think of it? What the case is? Well, oh, lulav, lulav. It's tricky because lulav, the bracha share kishayzanu that lulav, taking the lulav. But as soon as you take the lulav, you've done the mitzvah. So you can't pick up the lulav to do that. So what we do is we hold the etrog upside down. So we're not doing the mitzvah because it's upside down. We say the bracha, we turn it right side up, and that's how we do it over l'siyatan. That was not the case I was thinking of. That's a good example. That's a trick to enable us to do it over l'siyatan. I'm thinking of a case where you really can't. I don't think you'll think of it because you have not seen this yet. When someone the end of a conversion to Judaism goes to the mikveh, there's a bracha on the immersion in the mikveh. But they can't say the bracha yet because they're not Jewish. So they go into the mikveh, they come up, they say the bracha, and they immerse a second time right away. And because a convert has to immerse this way, every woman who uses the mikveh for observance of Hilchot Nida, she also dunks this way. She dunks once, comes up, says the bracha, and dunks a second time. And maybe she dunks 7 more times or whatever, however many times she does, but that's the concept of the Ve'er L'Sitan, proximate to doing the mitzvah. The other example is you wash your hands until Yadayim. You don't want to say the bracha when your hands are dirty because you should wash your hands before you say brachot. So, but once you wash your hands, how can you say the bracha? You can just do it if you say the bracha before. So you wash your hands and then you say the bracha as you dry your hands because that's part of the mitzvah. Okay.
I have a follow-up. That's okay.
Please, follow-ups are great. Yeah.
So, like for a convert, is it problematic to say
A shirkage.
Shirkage
Before they convert for anything else?
Yeah.
Yeah, and so no, because you're like convert is like practicing learning how to do mitzvah. Also a child, right? Also similar, right? They're not a child or neither someone who's not Jewish and a child are both not obligated at any mitzvah. But they're learning how to do mitzvah. So you should say the convert should say the liturgy, should daven, should say the bracha because that's the way to learn how to do them. It's a good question. Yeah. Good question. All right. Should we go on? Okay, Kavod Shabbat and Onik Shabbat. The Shabbat meal. Okay, so Shabbat meals are also a really, important part of like the Shabbat experience and celebrating Shabbat. And there is a whole, sort of liturgy to the Shabbat meal as well. Let's talk about Friday night. Friday night Shabbat meal begins. We typically will sing Shalom Aleichem. It's a song of welcome to the angels that, according to legend, accompany us to. This is actually pretty ancient. I believe it's an ancient legend, maybe even in the Talmud, that accompanies us home Friday night, and as the angelic presence is there with us at the table on Friday night in our home over Shabbat. And so we sing a song of welcome to the angels. Some people sing each stanza 3 times. Our family do it once because it just, I don't know, it gets long, but it's a beautiful song. There are several beautiful melodies. There's a tradition of singing Eshet Chayil, which is the last chapter in the book of Proverbs. It describes a virtuous woman. It's understood by many to be a song of praise for the women of the house. Some women I know don't like it because they feel it's essentializes them as housemakers in some way. But if you read what the word, she's a pretty industrious woman who is involved in trade and commerce, and she's wise, and et cetera, et cetera. Second of all, that's not why it's there in the liturgy. It was put there because it was understood to be symbolic. It's a praise of not an actual woman. It's a song about the Torah. Okay, this virtuous woman is symbolic of the Torah. That's why it's. I mean, at least maybe it's, I don't know if that's like metaphorically at least that's why it got put into our into the Siddur for Friday liturgy. So you can whatever you want to interpret it. That's why it's there. So anyway, but yeah, beautiful. The common melody that most people in our community sing for Eshet Chayil was actually written not that long ago. The composer died just a few years ago. His name was Ben Sion Schenker. The only melody actually I've ever heard for Eshet Chayil was composed in the 20th century by anyway. But Be that as it may. And then there's a whole library of Zmirot, of beautiful liturgical poems in praise of Shabbat, most written in the Middle Ages, some in Germany, some in France, some in the Mediterranean regions. And there are many, many melodies of Zmirot. And it's such a, in this community, people don't sing Zmirot so much, which is sort of sad, but it's such a lovely practice. There are maybe, I don't know, 5 or 6 that were written for Friday night, another 5 or 6 that were written. I mean, there are more than 5 or 6, but if you look in a small little booklet that has Shabbat songs, like those little table benchers, those little blessing books that are common for Shabbat meal liturgy, they'll have, I don't know, 4, 5, 6 songs for Friday night, another 4, 5, 6 songs written for Shabbat lunch. And there are, let's say 3 to 4 famous melodies for each one, and another 100 less famous melodies. And people are constantly writing new melodies. And it's a lot of fun to teach your friends and family a melody for this one or for that one, or ask a guest to like teach one or sing one. I think it's just really transformative. It changes a meal into like we're serving God sitting around the table, because we're sharing ideas about the Torah portion and talking about things of meaning, and we're singing these beautiful hymns. It's really lovely. They're great recordings. I would say there used to be, I don't know, like there used to be like CDs of like popular Shabbat songs, Zmirot or Zmiros. I guess they don't have CDs anymore now. They're Spotify, albums or something. But like you can find, if you want to learn, there are recordings of set to simple music of like many, many popular melodies. And if you're, it'd be nice, at many Shabbat meals you'll encounter these Mirot. All right. Any questions, comments on Shabbat meal? Oh, and then Shabbat meal ends with grace after meals. Okay, so like every meal, that's not a Shabbat thing specifically, but that's also a way, again, the meal itself is part of this form of service. Like we're serving God, not just like in the synagogue, but also in our homes, not just in our prayer lives, but also as we're eating. And right, I mean, I'll just okay. Every animal has to eat to survive. This is something that was very embarrassing to the Greeks, who first noticed this. Like people are no different than animals in this regard. We all eat in order to stay alive. And one way to overcome this sort of embarrassing fact of human life is through like culture. So etiquette and cuisine is a way to elevate ourselves from animals, right? By saying we're not just eating, we're engaging in active culture. And the Greeks had this symposium where they would sit around and eat symbolic foods and talk about philosophy with each course. Okay. The Jews take that to a level, not just etiquette and culture, but to a form of worship, because our meals begin with blessings, acknowledging God, because we invite the stranger, widow, orphan into our table and engage in hospitality, and because we suffuse our meals with ideas of Torah and with songs, these songs of hymns and praise and etc. So, okay. Questions, comments on that? Yeah, sure.
Rabbi,
Wait, one second. John, there's a question in the room, and then we'll get to question. Yeah, go ahead. Loud, yeah.
The halacha to do grace after meals 3 times on Shabbos? Is that a halacha?
That's a good question. So we have a very good question. So we were supposed to have 3 Shabbat meals. So Friday night, Shabbat day, and a third meal as well. There are some positions that all 3 of those meals should be with washing and bread, followed by grace after meals. Others would say only 2 of them have to be meals with bread. In the winter, it's certainly hard to eat, like 3 full meals with bread, because it's like the day is so short. But I don't know, if you like bread, it's an easy thing to do. I don't know. But there are different opinions on that. And follow up. Yeah, please. Yeah.
So do you stop the grace after meals blessing at the blessing for Jerusalem? Because Rambam says you do 4.
Yeah.
You do the 4, and then you could stop if you want.
No. We'll get to grace after meal. There are 4 blessings in grace after meals. The third one is Jerusalem. That was the original 3. The 4th one was added after the fall of Beitar, and that's L'olam Yichasreinu. That's the 4th blessing. And after L'olam Yichasreinu, you could stop, and everything after that is added extras, which I don't know if you have time to say. You may as well say it, but if you get to L'olam Yichasreinu, you can stop there. All right, that's the 4th. Yeah, Robert. Yeah, go ahead.
Yes, and I'm sorry, I actually have a couple questions
Great,
from
let's do it.
earlier
Good,
topics.
good,
Uh,
good. We got them all out.
for the um, for the candles, is it that every house that's going to be inhabited for that Shabbat has to have candles lit?
Good question. Yes, it seems to be an obligation on the house. So one person can light candles who's at home, and that seems to fulfill the obligation for everyone who's going to be in that home because the point is, I am so typically a married woman will light candles for her household, and I don't light candles because my wife is lighting candles in our house, and I am also going to be coming home from shul to a home that has lights on. If she were away, or if I were away, I would have to light, or let's say I'm staying with friends and they're lighting it. I don't have to light myself as long as I'm in some place where there is light, and then we ritualize that by also lighting candles. But there's no individual obligation to light candles, or somebody else can light for you. Yeah. Okay.
And then I also had a question on your point on blessings. Um, did I understand correctly that there were sort of initially two kinds of blessings for benefit or for praise, and and then there was the formulaic blessing for the commandment, but did that somehow incorporate the first two?
No, 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 no. Just that there are th no, there are three kinds of blessing: praise, benefit, and mitzvah. And yeah, I guess in terms of incorporate, if you look at the first page, like the one of the first pages in most Sidurim, you'll see the blessings we say in the morning for Torah study, which seems to be a merger of all three. We say a mitzvah blessing, a praise blessing, and a benefit blessing. So it's three blessings all kind of to one for the mitzvah, the joy, the wonder of learning Torah each day, and that's sort of like all three merged in one. But the three categories go as far back as I know. Okay.
Okay.
All right. Anyone else? Okay. Great. Let's continue. Okay. Letter B, Shamor. Okay. So all of the positive things we're trying to create on Shabbat, this holiness, this tranquility, this right time with family, time with ourselves, time with God, napping. All of that is only possible if we carve out this sacred space through prohibitions. And excuse me. Um, and these prohibitions are, the Torah calls them melacha, which is typically translated as creative labor. It's not the same as toil. It's not the same as employment. It's creative activity. It's what God did to create the universe, which presumably didn't entail effort, right? But it was creative. And so we don't do that on Shabbat. And in the Talmud, they connect these or derive and define 39 primary categories of labor, and they connect these to the work that was done to create the Mishkan, the portable tabernacle in the desert, to erect it, to dismantle it, to move it, entailed 39 categories of labor. What's the significance of connecting the 39 categories of labor to the construction and movement of the Mishkan, the tabernacle? Several things. One, so first, where it comes from is the Torah in Exodus juxtaposes the creation, the command, the building of the Mishkan with one of the times in the Torah where we're commanded to observe Shabbat. So observe Shabbat. So that's it must be we're going to stop doing this creative labor to build the Mishkan because it's Shabbat. So it must be the things we do to build the Mishkan are the things that we did for the Mishkan. I lost my. Yes, exactly. Since the command to observe Shabbat, prohibition against doing labor on Shabbat is juxtaposed in the Torah to constructing the Mishkan, there must be a relationship. The things that we did to do the Mishkan are the things we don't do on Shabbat. Logically and linguistically, there's some other ties. I think 39 times I think maybe maybe the word. There's some there's some sort of these like active verbs that appear 39 times in the Torah's account of the Mishkan, which is also kind of neat. Also, by linking the Mishkan and Shabbat, we sort of we set up Shabbat as a sanctuary in time. The Mishkan is sacred space, home for God on earth, like bound by walls, and Shabbat is sacred time. And that connection is, I think, I think is neat. Um, and um, Heschel called Shabbat a cathedral in time.
Mm.
Just as like medieval Christendom built these, soaring cathedrals, and we created Shabbat. It's a cathedral in time. It's a beautiful, beautiful phrase. So that sort of emerges from that juxtaposition. We also learn the definition of the labor that according to some authorities, the very definition itself of the form of labor derives its contours from the way that labor was done to construct the Mishkan. So, for example, digging a hole is one of the forms of labor. If you dig a hole not because you want the hole, because you want the dirt, that does not meet the criterion for a certified biblical prohibited form of labor. So it's not just if you trapping an animal is a forbidden form of labor. Why do they trap animals for the Mishkan? Because they wanted to use their hides for making various for various things in the Mishkan. So if you trap an animal, not because you want the animal, but because it's you don't want you're trapping the animal so it won't bite you or sting you, that doesn't meet the threshold of the biblical prohibition, right? Because it's called malacha she'elat shricha legufa, a malacha done not for itself. You're doing the same action, you're accomplishing the same thing, but for a different goal. And what's that different from what? Different from the quintessential definition of that malacha, which maybe gets its origin from how that thing was done to build the Mishkan, to build the tabernacle. So that's another way in which we refer back to the tabernacle. Okay. Questions so far? Yeah. Okay, Jacob.
I was actually
Go so.
reading about,
Sorry. Oh, great.
and it said 40 minus 1.
Yeah.
What exactly did that mean?
39. 40 minus 1 is 39.
But why to say 40?
Read the Gemara, see the commentaries there. Okay. Yeah, good question. But yeah, okay. Great. That's a Masechet Shabbat. Great. Yeah. Okay.
So if you were to catch an animal, let's say for your child to play on Shabbat, is that okay?
No, because that's you want the animal. That is the right. You're capturing it because you want it, as opposed to you're capturing because you don't want it.
Okay.
Okay. Yeah.
So like a spider or a mouse, hypothetically, you could like capture that and just take it out of.
Okay. Good.
Right. So like where does that line get drawn?
Okay. So capturing an animal or killing an animal, not because you want its body, but because you don't want it to bite you. So that lowers it from a threat. Doesn't meet the biblical threshold definition of what's a biblical violation of Shabbat. It's still prohibited rabbinically.
Mhm.
However, once it's forbidden rabbinically, now all of a sudden we have all these other considerations that enter into play. And one of them is fear. So you can capture or also great anguish. So you can kill or capture a bee or a mosquito or a tiger, okay, on Shabbat, not because not because you want the animal itself, but just to keep it from stinging you or biting you if you're scared.
Yeah.
All right.
Good to know.
Yeah, no, it comes up.
Arachnophobic.
Oh,
Yes.
good, great. Okay. Yeah. I'm sorry.
Shearing.
Shearing is one of the 39. Yeah.
No,
What?
I'm trying to figure out the 40 minus the 1. I think shearing was.
The shearing is a malacha. You're saying what was the 40th that's not included? I think it's I think it's just a way that they say 39. I don't think that you could it's been my recollection from the times from Second Shabbat is that it's just the way Torah refers, like they refer to it as 30, instead of saying 39, they say 40. I think the other also isn't the number of lashes somebody gets as a punishment is also 40 minus one.
Yes.
So I don't know. I don't know. Just I'm not sure that it's
I'm overthinking that.
look go back to the Gemara and see what it says. Read the commentaries. I'm sure somebody has something to say about it.
Can you pronounce this word in B2?
Perhaps the word in B2. Oh, Doraita
Oh,
or derisa, okay, which means from the Torah in Aramaic, and the other that's contrast with derabanan, 2 and 3, right? Derisa, derabanan, okay, from the Torah or derabanan. So rabbinic prob so most so yeah, so there are two kinds of derabanan could be it doesn't meet it's the malacha. I'm doing the same act, but I'm not meeting the threshold to meet the definition of the biblical act. I don't know if anyone's an attorney. I guess I don't know, Joseph. You're an attorney, so like I don't know. It's like it doesn't count as you know.
can you give me?
Oh, well, example would be one second. So we have this in civil law too, right? Like you do some, it's not a real felony. It's not felony, larceny because you haven't done a da, right? I don't know. It's like so. Biblically, it's prohibited to write. Okay, writing 2 letters makes it a biblical prohibition. So you write 1 letter, that's not a biblical prohibition. Okay, you haven't met the threshold for biblical prohibition. Biblical prohibition is you capture so it might not meet the threshold of the biblical prohibition because you haven't done enough of it to make the threshold. It could also be not the biblical threshold because you did it for a different motive, like you dig a hole not because you want the hole but because you want the dirt. Right, or you capture a mouse not because you want the mouse because you are scared of mice. Okay,
Like a big size.
you pull out a hair not because you want the hair, but because you don't want the hair coming out of your ear. Okay, that would be, or you don't want it growing. Whatever. That you're not shearing is you're harvesting hair. Pulling out a hair that you don't want growing there is not. So that again, it's the same action, but it doesn't meet the biblical threshold because you're not doing it for the same motivation. If you do the action, but you do it in a unusual, awkward way, that doesn't make the biblical. Because the whole point is, right? You're supposed to malacha. The thing we're not doing on Shabbat is intentional creative labor. So anything we do in a way like it's haphazard, it's not permanent. Like writing on a shower, and steam on a shower is not a biblical. It's writing, but it's not permanent. So that's not a biblical prohibition. Okay, it won't last very long. Still rabbinically prohibited, okay? It doesn't meet the threshold of a biblical violation. You still can't do it, but it's only rabbinic, which means maybe there are some extenuating circumstances where you could do it, okay? Writing with your elbow, okay, right? It's not how you are writing with your left hand if you're right-handed, right? Your non-dominant hand. You're doing something in an awkward, with your teeth, okay? Whole depends, like you're doing something in an awkward, unusual way. That means it's not the biblical threshold, even if the action gets done somehow in that way, okay? So these are all ways in which like we have these 39 categories of labor. We have several subcategories of many of them. Like you can't, like threshing is a category, and milking a cow is a subcategory of threshing because they're both about extracting something you want from the context in which it grew and developed. Okay, so those are both biblical. Okay, even though only one of them is one of the 39. Threshing is one of the 39. Milking is a derivative, but it's still biblical. All of these 39 biblical, they have specific definitions of like minimum amount and done with intentionality and done for a purpose and done for a specific purpose that corresponds to the tabernacle. And if you don't meet those standards, it becomes rabbinically prohibited. And once it's rabbinically prohibited, you still can't do it, but maybe sometimes you can. The only excuse for violating a biblical prohibition is if life is at risk. Right? So to save a life or potentially save a life, you can violate a biblical prohibition. To violate a rabbinic prohibition, you can do for to relieve pain, maybe to certain ones to avoid enormous loss, financially in certain circumstances. You can you can do a malacha through grama. You can do indirect causation of a malacha. You can do to avoid a significant financial loss. For example, you're not allowed to extinguish a fire on Shabbat. That's one of the 39 categories of labor is extinguishing a fire. Obviously, if a fire breaks out and a life is at risk, you can put out a fire. But what if no life is at risk because the fire is burning on your private island? where no one else lives. All your possessions will burn, but no one's life is at risk. So you can't put out that fire. But what you can do is take earthenware jugs and make a ring around the fire. The fire
Explode the
will
metal.
shatter the jugs, and the water will extinguish the fire. That's an indirect causation, only rabbinically prohibited, and therefore permissible if to avoid a significant loss. Okay. In addition, there are rabbinic prohibitions that have no uh, that are not so some things are rabbinically prohibited because they are like deficient biblical prohibitions. Okay, like those examples I just gave you. Like it's the same action as a biblical prohibition, one of those categories, but misses the standard. There are additional rabbinic prohibitions which are prohibited because of rabbinic legislation. For example, riding a horse. Why can't you ride a horse? Maybe you will break off a stick from a tree, which is a biblical prohibition, to like use as a goad for your horse. Okay. Bicycle is a little different. Bicycle would
If it breaks, you might have to fix it.
right, but the rabbis didn't make a the bicycles were invented in the 19th century, so it can't be rabbinic in the sense of like our sages did not make a decree against bicycles. When bicycles were invented, people applied earlier categories to them, okay, and said it's a bicycle is an object, it's a muktzah object, which we'll get to in a later letter. So it's a little bit different. Um, I think we have like 3 minutes. Let's just start talking about some of our 39 categories and see how far we get. I think it'd be worth using this like pausing to like go through all 39. Should like encounter them all and then we'll start them now. We'll finish next time maybe, and then we'll continue on with okay. The first set of 39 are all leading up to baking bread. Okay, so it's everything you need to do leading up to baking bread. So it starts with what's the first thing you had to bake bread? What's the first step of baking bread?
Yeast.
No, go back further, even back before that, before you mill.
You gotta get the grain or pull the grain from the ground.
You got to harvest the grain. Before that, even before that,
Yeah.
Planting.
before that,
Watering.
Oh yeah,
Bef-
Tilling soil. Tilling.
plowing. Good. Okay, excellent. Good. Plowing. Okay, plowing is the first. Okay, you can't plow. I know, right? It's millennials. Okay, you can't plow. You can't plant seeds. You can't harvest. Okay. Um, Watering is biblically prohibited. And if you water ground to prepare the ground for planting, that's a derivative of plowing. And if you water to promote growth, that's a derivative of planting. Okay, so watering is definitely not okay. That's why you shouldn't be careful about picnics on Shabbat because you can't have water falling on the ground on Shabbat, even accidentally. Um,
Oh,
hmm,
I don't know.
okay. I mean, you can have a pic. Just the issue is the like if you just don't spill water on the ground. If you have a Shabbos picnic, go someplace with like a sidewalk or a patio or some brick patio to wash your hands so that the water from your hand washing doesn't fall on the ground. So, once you harvest, you then have to um, thresh and winnow. These are very similar tasks, but threshing is usually, I mean, it was an animal would like walk across your grain and help separate the wheat from the chaff. Winnowing is very similar. You toss it up into the air and the wind, blows away the chaff and the seeds remain. Then there's sorting and sifting, which are also very similar. These are like sorting is very, very common. Sorting comes up because sorting is removing what you don't want out of a mixture from what you do want. So that can actually come up all the time in and some people are quite strict about that, would say um, so
You could literally be picking out your clothes that you're wearing too.
yeah,
Yeah.
right, for
Yeah.
example. So You read that somewhere, right? You didn't just think, did you think of that or you just
No,
read
I
it?
just thought
Oh,
of that.
excellent. Oh, yeah, you're good. Oh, excellent. Excellent. Oh, you have a Jewish soul. Great. Exactly. So maybe, so are the clothing, picking out the clothing, is that sorting? What about taking a book from a shelf? Is that, sorting? What about, right, emptying, putting sorting your silverware? Right, you have a big pile of silverware, you're putting it, setting the table, like, okay, is that sorting? What if you don't like olives, you're taking them out of your salad? Is that sorting? Okay, so basically, sorting is permissible under three conditions, and that is you sort for immediate use, you take what you want from what you don't want, and you use a hand rather than a special tool designed for sorting. So
For
it's
immediate use,
Taking out what you don't want.
no.
an object, so with the gloves.
No. The things that okay, it's permissible if it's for immediate use as opposed to for later. If I'm going to do this sorting task now, I'm gonna take all the raisins out of my whatever because I want the raisins and the mixed with Cheerios. I'm gonna pick all the raisins out for my raisin bran because I want raisins. Okay, that's fine if I'm doing it because I eat them right now. But if I'm going to eat them tomorrow or this afternoon, that's not okay. So it has to be for immediate use. It has to be I'm taking what I want from what I don't want as opposed to taking out what I don't want from what I want. Okay, and I have to use my hand rather than a special raisin sorting tool or some sort of sifter or whatever. Okay, under those three conditions, it's permissible. Forks count as your hand over time. Like when forks are invented and become common use, they're understood by halachic scholars to be an extension of your hand. But under those circumstances, it's okay. So a problem would be if what if a fly falls into your soup? Can you remove the fly from your soup?
Yes.
With your
How?
finger.
Anguish, it's creating anguish.
No, the fly's dead. No, the fly's dead. Using your hand would be okay. So the problem is you're taking out what you don't want from what you want, right? You want the soup. So what you do is you take a spoon and you scoop out.
Then it's still in it,
The
and then it's still like its own soup thing.
Yep, exactly.
Then it's-
So you're removing fly and soup and then tossing that out. So you're not removing just the fly. Very good. Excellent. Wow, Emily, you're on fire today. Great. Okay. And sorting, let's do one more moment. Sorting, then grinding, okay, grinding the grains into flour. Grinding can also be any type of, like whatever, grinding other things would also be, yeah, using a pepper mill or a salt mill, that's certainly grinding. Um, um, Maybe some people are strict about making uh, like chopping vegetables very, very finely could cross over into that grinding category, depending on how fine you do. Yeah.
Question.
Yeah.
Medications in terms of like grinding. So like kids a lot of times, like sometimes they'll get pills, but they can't eat the pills, so you grind it up and put it in yogurt or something. Like
Yeah.
would that be something
That would
would be
absolutely
permissible?
be a problem but there are workarounds.
Okay.
Great question.
You can't take medicine.
So rabbinic medication is rabbinically prohibited, lest you grind the ingredients for medication. The threshold for overcoming that is, and that's not just pills, that's just any, like even a therapeutic massage would fall under that same prohibition of medication. The threshold for overcoming that is if you're so sick that you are like bedridden, which doesn't have to be like I can't get out of bed. It could just mean that I'm like changing my behavior. I would have gone for a walk. I would have played checkers with my friend. Instead, I'm just gonna like take a nap and lie down. Like that's sufficient illness to like justify taking the medication, like okay, Tylenol, whatever, get your headache go away. I think crushing a pill for a child, actually, I think the pill was already crushed. Like it was, in other words, it's not you're not crushing ingredients to make the medication. They were already crushed, they were put into a pill, and you're just breaking it apart. So I think you can break a pill for a kid, I believe, for that reason. Grinding, then you knead, okay, to make dough. Kneading might also be other kinds of like making any kind of doughy substance and not just flour and water, but anything similarly kind of dough-like consistency. And then baking, okay, and all the subcategories, baking, boiling, roasting, okay, all those are the same malacha of basic cooking, let's say, using heat to transform food chemically to make it better. That's a forbidden labor. So that's the first grouping. Cooking we'll have to go into in greater detail because there are many, many subcategories and rabbinic extensions of that, which we'll go into greater detail. These are all worth, if we should read a good book on Hilchot Shabbat, Rav Melamad's book on Hilchot Shabbat, a dozen others. These are all, Borer is really significant. The sorting one comes up a lot in people's lives. It's worth like reading a good chapter in a book on that one. Um, yeah,
Rabbi, pardon
yeah,
me, back on the picnic on Shabbat, don't
yeah.
spill. I mean, but if water spills, you're not spilling it in order to prepare the ground for planting.
So it'd be an accident. It'd be well. It would still, so preparing the ground for planting is a derivative of plowing. Watering already growing plants is a derivative of planting seeds. So you're promoting growth through watering. Can't water plants on Shabbat in your house either. Can't spill water on the ground. Accidentally, okay. If a drop spills, okay. That's also when you walk, you're tearing plants. Like the things that are done completely unintentionally without even awareness, like as you go about your daily life, we're not worried about. But you should be careful of having a picnic outside. Yeah.
Well, and I think actually, because I'm reading the laws of Shabbat, the first one, I'm on the volume one.
Great.
It had mentioned that with the grass. So as long as you didn't have the intention of purposefully like pulling the grass out, it would be fine. So like I compared that to like wearing metal cleats playing football or something. Like not that you would, but I'm saying like you are actively pulling
So
up
I
the
would say
cleats.
so metal cleats might be different. Metal cleats might be in the threshold of I'm not intending it, but it's definitely going to happen.
Okay.
And it's more than just like, oh, a stray blade might be
Yeah.
torn by my sneakers. Metal cleats, I would be more concerned about on Shabbat because it's a definite thing that's going to happen.
Yeah.
Um, right, you have writing on the bottom of your shoes. You're walking through sand. You're writing every step you take. You have no intention. It's not the way that we write. You're just going what like that. I think that's fine. If your intention is to leave a message with your feet, that would be a problem. Okay, but no, yeah, but normally not a problem. There's a thing called the Talmud describe this. We'll pause with this. The last thought to leave you with. Talmud discusses a case of somebody who chops off the head of a chicken, not because he wants the chicken to die, but because he wants the head for his kid to play with, which was like you read about that too, right? Yeah. So which is like how the times were different. Times were different. So don't judge, okay? So you can't do that because even I don't intend for that. I didn't care about the chicken dying. I just want the head. Tom says, "Seek racial yamut." Can you cut off its head without it dying? Of course not. So at some point, the like automatic and definite outcome of your intended action, really you can't sort of walk away from that. On the other hand, seek ratio de lo nikla, if you don't really want the thing and you really don't care about it, in certain circumstances that can also be it's no more than a rabbinic prohibition in circumstances like that, like if you like maybe a certain type of automatic light sensors that go on that you don't want, you don't care about. You're walking down the street and your neighbor's light goes on, like that's secret. Like it definitely is going to happen, right? You can't walk down the street without the light going on, but lo nichale, like you don't want it to go on. It's not helping you in any way that your neighbor's porch light goes on when you walk down the street. And it's not benefiting you in any way. And so that's like a pretty low threshold. Yeah.
But when you know that there's a light there, you already know this the week before there's a light there, but you still keep on going there.
But what if you can't avoid it because that's the only way to get to your house? Okay. What if it's you're walking down from your fifth floor apartment, taking the stair, there's a light that goes on in the staircase in your building every time you right. So you don't need that light because there's a base light, there's an emergency light that's always 24/7. There's like a light that's lit in your staircase. So which is sufficient. That's according to fire code, there's always a light 24/7 in your staircase to let you safely exit the building, even if there's a powder failure. As it turns out, there's a motion sensor that a light goes on when you start walking down the stairs. So that's psik resha de lo nichale. It's psik resha. It's automatic. Absolutely is going to happen. Definitely going to happen. But you don't care because you actually have enough light to see even without that light. Um, and furthermore, it's grama. It's like the jugs around because you're not pushing a button to turn the light on. You're just walking and it's activating a sensor. It's like several steps removed. So it's grama. It's an indirect causation and psik racial nichale. You don't care about the light, even though you know it's going to go on. You don't care about it. You're not really benefiting from it because there's enough light for you to see to get out of the stairs anyway. And furthermore, let's say it's a LED or fluorescent light, which probably isn't a biblical prohibition to begin with. So I would say in those circumstances, you can walk down the stairs. that you're combining these factors, looking at it in these different ways to navigate. Okay, I kept you late. Thank you so much. And I think we're meeting again next week. And all right, I had fun. I hope you did too. All right, thanks. All right.